welcome you once again to the Holy Convention of NCCI. The Yahweh Elohim has seen fit to sit here in Atlanta. Surely Yahweh has been merciful to us. So let us consider the things that we read and try to get as much understanding about these things as you can. So far, what I've been trying to do, I've been trying to get down through this Old Testament as best as I can. I try to cover this about every 6 months, but so far I've been in the Old Testament for 4 months and haven't got out the law book yet. But that's because there's a lot of things that we need to know that we don't know, and what I try to do is cover as much as I can in this law book so you understand what's going on and how sacred this law is to us. And it's not of any one private interpretation. If you don't understand anything, then what you do is come and ask, and you'll get an answer. And if you don't want to deal with that answer, I ain't got nothing to do with that. But Brother Steve Redorkers of the church, and invite him who stands at the door that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may continue to read out of this legacy and consider what we read, that we might do what's necessary to be saved.
I'm going to read the oracles of the church beginning at 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for the anointed one's sake, have forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love, as the anointed one also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be one's name among you as become a saint. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks.
Amen.
Revelation chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the church.
Amen. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church in Holy Convention. I'd like to start our class today in Exodus chapter 27 and verse 20 through chapter 29 and verse 21. Exodus 27 and verse 20 through chapter 29 and verse 21.
Exodus chapter 27, verse 20. And thou shalt command the children of Israel that they bring you pure olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamp to burn always.
Mm-hmm.
In the tabernacle of the congregation, without the veil, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall order it from evening to morning before Yahweh. It shall be a statute forever unto their generations, on the behalf of the children of Israel.
So they had to bring olive oil to light the lamp, the lampstand that had the 7 bowls on it outside of the holy place in the tabernacle of the congregation, so that the house of Israel would always have a light before Yahweh Elohim, right? Go ahead, brother.
Exodus chapter 28, verse 1. And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty.
For glory and for beauty. This is what the holy garments was for, right? For glory and for beauty. But notice what had happened. Yahweh had separated the priests from the house of Israel, right? It's the same thing with us today. He separated us from natural Israel, correct? Because now the priesthood was changed, wasn't it? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garment to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, and an ephod, and a robe, and an embroidered coat, a mitre, and a girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall take gold and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen. And they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, and of purple, of scarlet, and fine twined linen with cunning work. It shall have the 2 shoulder pieces thereof joined at the 2 edges thereof, and so it shall be joined together.
Mm-hmm.
And the curious girdle of the ephod, which is upon it, shall be of the same, according to the work thereof, even of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones, and engrave on them the names of the children of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone, and the other 6 names of the rest on the other stone, according to their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, shalt thou engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold. And thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before Yahweh upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial. And thou shalt make ouches of gold, and 2 chains of pure gold at the ends. Of weaving work shalt thou make them, and fasten the wreathen chains to the ouches. And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work. After the work of the ephod thou shalt make it of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen shalt thou make it. 4 square it shall be, being double. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be the breadth thereof. And thou shalt set it in its settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold in their enclosing. And the stones shall be with the names of the children of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engraving of a signet. Every one with his name shall they be according to the 12 tribes.
Verse 29, brother.
And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart, when he goeth in unto the holy place, for a memorial before Yahweh continually. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goeth in before Yahweh. And Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before Yahweh continually. And thou shalt make the roll of the ephod all of blue. And there shall be a hole in the top of it, in the midst thereof. It shall have a binding of woven work round about the whole of it, as it were the whole of a habergeon, that it be not rent. And beneath upon the hem of it thou shalt make pomegranates of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, round about the hem thereof, and bells of gold between them round about. A golden bell and a pomegranate, and a golden bell and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe round about. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister, and his sound shall be heard when he goeth in unto the holy place before Yahweh, and when he cometh out, that he die not.
Right, those bells was on that garment so that wouldn't nobody mess around and run into Aaron while he was in the tabernacle. You know how easy that can be. You walk around the corner and there's somebody you bump into, right? If you bump into the high priest, you got a problem. Then you're going to die. Just that simple. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 36. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and engrave upon it, like the engravings of a signet, holiness to Yahweh. And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre, upon the fourth front of the mitre it shall be.
Mm-hmm.
And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt embroider the coat of fine linen, and thou shalt make the mitre of fine linen, and thou shalt make the girdle of needlework. And for Aaron's son thou shalt make coats, and thou shalt make for them girdles and bonnets, shall you make for them for glory and for beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother and his sons with him, and shall anoint them and consecrate them and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness, from the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him. Exodus chapter 29, verse 1. And this is the thing that thou shalt do unto them, to hallow them, to minister unto me in the priest's office. Take one young bullock, and 2 rams without blemish, and unleavened bread, and cakes unleavened tempered with oil, and wafers unleavened anointed with oil, or wheaten flour shall you make them. And thou shalt put them into one basket, and bring them in the basket with the bullock and the 2 rams. And Aaron and his sons you shall bring unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall wash them with water. And thou shalt take the garments and put upon Aaron the coat and the robe of the ephod and the breastplate, and gird him with the curious girdle of the ephod. And thou shalt put the mitre upon his head, and put the holy crown upon the mitre. Then shalt thou take the anointing oil, and pour it upon his head, and anoint him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 8. And thou shalt bring his sons, and put coats upon them. And thou shalt gird them with girdles, Aaron and his sons, and put the bonnets on them. And the priest's office shall be theirs for a perpetual statute. And thou shalt consecrate Aaron and his sons. And thou shalt cause a bullock to be brought before the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the bullock. And thou shalt kill the bullock before Yahweh. by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Now, this next verse is what the Messiah had to do when this is why he told Mary, say, don't touch me, because he had to perform this next verse here for the children of Israel. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. And thou shalt take of the blood of the bullock, and put it upon the horns of the altar with your finger, and pour all the blood beside the bottom of the altar.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt take all the fat that covereth the inward, and the caul that is above the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and burn them upon the altar. But the flesh of the bullock, and his skin, and his dung shall you burn with fire without the camp. It is a sin offering.
Wasn't the Messiah buried outside the city?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Because he was what? The sin offering for the children of Israel, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 15. Thou shalt also take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. And thou shalt slay the ram, and thou shalt take his blood, and sprinkle it round about upon the altar. And thou shalt cut the ram in pieces, and wash the inwards of him and his legs, and put them unto his pieces and unto his head. And thou shalt burn the whole ram upon the altar. It is a burnt offering unto Yahweh. It is a sweet savor, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
Praise Yah.
And thou shalt take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. Then shalt thou kill the ram, and take of his blood, and put it upon the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and upon the tip of the right ear of his sons, and upon the thumb of their right hand, and upon the great toe of their right foot, and sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about.
In other words, they had to be covered with this blood then, didn't they? The same thing with us. We must be covered by the blood of the Messiah, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 21. And thou shalt take of the blood that is upon the altar, and of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it upon Aaron, and upon his garments, and upon his sons, and upon the garments of his sons with him, and he shall be hallowed, and his garments, and his sons' garments with him.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to go no further than that. Now, the reason I read concerning the priesthood was for you to witness the holiness and separation of those who represented our fathers before the Almighty El. Now, the law shows us that not only were the priests sanctified or set aside for Yahweh's use, wearing holy garments for glory and beauty, the high priest was bathed, anointed with a special oil, covered with special garments, which only he could wear. The high priest also was adorned with special symbols, a linen ephod or apron of royal colors of blue, scarlet, and purple, 2 onyx stones engraved with the names of our 12 tribes, which was a memorial before Yahweh, a breastplate of judgment, which had 12 stones for our 12 tribes, a Urim and a Thummim worn over the heart, which he communicated with Elohim through. This is why you're going to read occasionally in the scriptures that when the king wanted to inquire of Yahweh, they went and asked the priest, say, inquire to Yahweh of me through the Urim and the Thummim. This is why he had to wear that over his heart. Am I correct? The high priest also had a holy crown which bare the words holiness to Yahweh. The high priest was anointed again with oil and the blood of the sacrifice. He had already been anointed with one special oil, right? So he had to be anointed with that oil again. Therefore, in a 7-day ceremony at the temple, the high priest was sanctified to serve as high priest and consecrated to offer gifts to Yahweh from our 12 tribes. Thus he was the saint or the Holy One of Yahweh, and was given under priest to serve in the tabernacle of the congregation of the saints. Now let's go into Numbers 20 and read verse 22 through verse 27, my brother. Numbers 20 and verse 22 through verse 27. See, we're going to cover all this to show you your holiness, to show you your station. Yeah, go ahead, Al. Well, when you're sanctified, you just set aside for the master's use. You can be sanctified and never be used, you see. But when you're consecrated, that means you're put in the service. And this is what had to happen to Aaron. He had to be consecrated in order to make that sacrifice. Even though he was set aside for Yahweh's use, that was one deal. He might not have been used for a year, you see. But he was consecrated so that he could make those sacrifices and so that he could appear before Yahweh for the children of Israel. That's the difference between the stuff. It's just like in the beginning, Yahweh blessed and sanctified the Sabbath day. He set it aside, but it wasn't consecrated. Okay.
That would be even with the Nazarite, right?
Right.
He was consecrated, so he was separated unto the Lord until his duties were performed, right?
Correct.
Right.
Because of his consecration.
Right.
Where did I tell you to go?
Numbers chapter 20, verses 22 through 27.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. 22 through 29, brother.
Oh, okay. Numbers chapter 20, verses 22 through 29. And the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came unto Mount Hor. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe and Aaron in Mount Hor by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, because you rebel against my word at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up unto Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garment, and put them upon Eleazar his son. And Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, and shall die there.
Now, Aaron committed two great offenses. First, him and his sister decided they were equal with Moses. They want to talk against the one that Yahweh had chosen himself, right? And then next, they rebelled at the water of Meribah in Kadesh when they didn't sanctify Yahweh before the children of Israel. So for these two things, what happened? They died. Moses eventually died, and Aaron died. Miriam died. All of that generation did what? Died simply because they didn't have the interest of Yahweh in their heart. So go ahead and read, brother.
So what was his punishment for leading the people when they made that Moses calf?
Well, he didn't lead the people led him. Yeah, he got scared. See, that's what it was. That brother got scared and went on and let the people talk to him into making that calf. And then he turned around and told Moses, say, well, I put the gold in there, in the fire, and out came this calf. You see, like he didn't fashion that calf and everything, man. And then what he did to show you that he didn't really want no part of that it was his fear, what did he do? He made all the children of Israel get naked, man, to the shame of their enemies around. And you know what happened then, don't you? Okay. Okay, you see. That's why Moses asked him, say, man, what these people do to you to make you do that? He said, man, you know how these mischievous these people are, man. You know, they asked me to do it. They gave me the gold and everything, and I threw it in the fire, and I jumped this calf. No, I didn't. He took his time to fashion that calf, brother. Yeah. Go ahead and read, man.
Numbers chapter 20, verse 27. And Moshe did as Yahweh commanded, and they went up into Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moshe stripped Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there in the top of the mount, and Moshe and Eleazar came down from the mount. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel.
Amen and amen. Now the oracles and order of the priesthood is holiness. Therefore, the high priest, through the use of Urim and Thummim, called lights and perfection, the high priest communicated with Yahweh for the children of Israel. Plus, it was he who lit the lampstand so that Israel would always have the power of the seven lights or seven spirits in the tabernacle of the congregation, and it was he who made the atonement sacrifice and anointed the altar. But guess what? He died and was gathered to his people. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15 through verse 22. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15 through verse 22. Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15 through verse 22.
Verse 15. Yahweh, your Elohim, will raise up unto you a prophet from the midst of your brethren, of your brethren, like unto me. Unto him you shall hearken, according to all that you desired of Yahweh, your Elohim, in Horeb, in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto you.
Like unto you. He would be a lawgiver, right? He would be a deliverer, right? And he would be a God, because Moshe was made a God to Pharaoh, wasn't he? Go ahead, brother.
And will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him.
Okay, my brother, let's go and pick up some things about this prophet. Let's go into Hebrews chapter 3 and 1 through chapter 5 and verse 14. Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 1 through chapter 5 and verse 14. I don't know whether y'all read the rest of Hebrew last week, but we busted up Hebrew pretty good, but I left this out. I was hoping that you'd go back and pick that up. But you know what? We got some folks that don't see their books from one Sabbath to the next one. And then when they go picking up the book, they go in there trying to find something. They trying looking for something they can find. If you go back through these classes and cover what I leave out, you'll find a whole lot. You'll find a whole lot. Hebrews chapter 3, and pick that up at verse 1 through chapter 5 and verse 14, brother.
Yes, sir. Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest of our profession, the anointed one, Yeshua.
Now we got another high priest that has an everlasting priesthood, right? So our priesthood would be what? As under priest, we would be what? We would also be the sons of the true and living God. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 2, who was faithful to him that appointed him, as also Moshe was faithful in all his house.
Mm-hmm.
For this man was counted worthy of more glory than Moshe, inasmuch as he who have builded the house have more honor than the house. For every house is builded by some man, but he that built all things is Elohim.
Praise God.
And Moshe verily was faithful in all his house as a servant for a testimony of those things which were to be spoken after, but the anointed one as a son over his own house, whose house are we, if we hold fast the confidence and rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end.
Amen.
Wherefore, as the Holy Ghost says, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation in the day of temptation in the wilderness, when your fathers tempted me, proved me, and saw my works 40 years. Wherefore I was grieved with that generation, and said, they do always err in their heart, and they have not known my ways.
They erred where? In their hearts, right? They knew the law was read to them, but they had their own interpretations of it, didn't they? So they erred in their hearts, didn't they? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 11. So I swore in my wrath, they shall not enter into my rest. Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living Elohim. But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin.
Lest any of you be hardened through what? The deceitfulness of sin. All unrighteousness is sin. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. For we are made partakers of the anointed one, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end.
Right. We don't want to hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast until the end. What happens is this. Most of the time, you get people to come up in the congregation, and as they begin to get a little bit more milk, get a little bit more milk, and you give them a little pablum, they think they got some meat. And then they want to walk around and fuss and tell folks about, well, this is what I think. well, this is what I think. Well, if that's what you think, if it's contrary to what's being taught in this congregation, you in the wrong church, in the wrong seat. Because what's going to end up happening is this. You're going to sow strife among brethren. And not only so, you can end up talking about things that are so strife in brother's house, and you don't even have to go there. Yeah, go ahead and read, brother. See, that comes from running off at the mouth about things what you think. Go ahead, brother.
Hebrews chapter 3, verse 14. For we are made partakers of the Anointed One, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end, while it is said, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your heart, as in the provocation. For some, when they had heard, did provoke. Howbeit not all that came out of Egypt by Moshe.
You know the ones that provoked. Go back and read the story. You're going to find out which ones it was. Moshe sent people out and said, look, y'all take the princes of your tribe, the leaders, send them out there and spy out the land, right? They went out and spied out the land, looked over and saw the Watusis and different people there. And what did they come back and say? Man, the land truly flows with milk and honey, man, but the sons of Anak there. They got cities wall up to heaven, man. We like grasshoppers in the sight, right? And brought an evil report upon the land, right? And soon as they got ready to cross the border, them were the first Jakes that asked for their inheritance. Go ahead and read, brother.
Hebrews chapter 3, verse 17. But with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness?
Why? Because the wages of sin is death. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. And to whom swore he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believe not. So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it.
Right. When you walk around and talk about what you think and what you feel, you know what that shows? What you think, what that shows, you don't have any fear. See? You want to be Lord and Master. Well, like I keep telling y'all, whichever one of y'all that want my job, just let me know and I'll sit out there every Sabbath day. And you can deal with it. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 2. For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it.
Amen.
For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
Amen.
For he spoke in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and Elohim did rest the seventh day from all his works. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest, seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. Again, he limited a certain day, saying in David, today after so long a time, as it is said, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your heart. For if Yeshua had given them rest, then would not he afterward have spoken of another day. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of Elohim. For he that is entered into his rest, he also hath ceased from his own works, as Elohim did from his.
Praise Yah.
Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief.
It didn't say let us have faith enough to enter into that rest. It added something else to it. It said let us labor that we enter into that rest, right? Go ahead. Well, if you don't labor according to righteousness, then your laboring is in vain, then, isn't it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. For the word of Elohim is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart.
And is a discerner of the thoughts and the intents of the heart, right? Out of the mouth, the heart speaks, right? And folks will tell you, say, well, I don't think this, and I don't think that. Where do you think it's coming from? Huh? It's coming from their heart, right? Well, if it's coming from their heart, then who put it there? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and open unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do.
Everything, we can think that we do things in secret and think that we say things in secret, but guess what? Pretty soon, the angel of the Lord's going to talk about it. Then everybody going to know your business.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead and read, brother. Especially if I find out about it, because y'all know my mouth won't hold water. That's why folks don't tell me nothing. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Yeshua, the son of Elohim, let us hold fast our profession.
Praise God.
For we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin.
You can be tempted, but you have to let that temptation just stay that temptation. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 16. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need.
Mm-hmm.
For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Elohim, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins, who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way, for that he himself also is compassed with infirmity.
Mm-hmm.
And by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins. And no man taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of Elohim, as was Aaron. So also the anointed one glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, You are my son, today have I begotten thee.
If that's the way it works, then why is it that folks walk around trying to act like they priests? Trying to tell everybody what's going on. Trying to tell people how they feel about things. See, these are some things that we got to get away from simply because y'all may not think so because things are going pretty smooth for some of y'all right now. You may not think so, but there's going to come a time when we might have to commune. And when it does, things are going to have to be done decently and in order, or folks going to be out of the compound. It's just that simple. See, because we're going to have peace among us so that the spirit of peace will dwell among us. And so you can't have 20 chiefs and 5 Indians. Okay. Go ahead and read.
Yeah, brother, I've been talking to this brother on the job. He come to me the other day and he was listening to these Gentiles. He said, man, some things you've been talking about, the Europeans seem like they trying to get us out of these cities. Mm-hmm. With these fine apartments and lofts and condominiums they putting in here. It looks like they're trying to force us back out on these farms again.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, brother, they have intentions of putting them another mayor and setting that city of Atlanta up the way they want to.
Correct.
The next 4 or 5 years.
Correct. The finances of downtown Atlanta is going into the countryside. And they want to bring it back into downtown Atlanta because Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, is dying.
Right.
It's the suburbs around that's being built up. And they want to bring this thing back down to Atlanta. So what they're doing with us is the same thing they began to do with Israel over in Europe and Asia back in 1981. They began to colonize them all over the countryside so they wouldn't be so noticeable. They did the same thing with us. They opened up Gwinnett, DeKalb, and all these counties around here, and black folks started moving out in caravans there.
Right.
Getting away from each other, right? Going right out into, leaving the city, going out into the country, taking them same nasty tricks right along with them. Like the man say, you can take country out of niggas, but you can't take niggas out of the country.
True.
I mean, you take niggas out of the country, but you can't take the country out of niggas. Y'all know what I mean. Anyway, and this is basically what they're doing. Now, it's us who are moving out, who are paying that high price for gas and spending all that time getting back and forth into the city. And the Europeans are moving back into the city, moving into loft apartments and so moving in broke down warehouses and so forth, fixing them up like they want to because the Europeans want to take this city back over. That's what the power seat is. But see, we just outnumbered them, that's all. But then look all over the nation at these so-called chocolate cities that we came up with. Look at them. Look at them.
Slums, brother.
Yeah, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse Hebrews chapter 5, verse 6.
See, it's them curses. We can't get rid of them curses. When we do with the curses like we do with them roaches, we pack them up in our suitcase and move them right along with us. Make the pestilence cleave to us. We have the man to come in here and exterminate, and every time he turn around, come in here the other day, roaches walking up and down the hallway. Good grief, so what's going on in here? Go ahead now. The pestilence is still cleaving to us, and we can't get rid of it because of the curse and because of our own unrighteousness. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Hebrews chapter 5, verse 6. As he says also in another place, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared, though he was a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him.
Why? Because though he was a son, he learned obedience by the things which he suffered, right? And we have to understand this. When things come upon us, do we look at these things as suffering, or do we look at these things as bad luck? If we look at them as bad luck, then we'll never learn obedience. Because what we'll never see that it's the wrath of God that is smoking against us because of our unrighteousness. See? But y'all know what we think. Everybody know what we think. We all walk around think we holier than thou. Yeah, think, well, if I made this mistake, Yahweh going to forgive me. Not if you keep doing it week after week after week after day after day. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 10. Call of Elohim a high priest after the order of Melchizedek, of whom we have many things to say and hard to be uttered, seeing you are dull of hearing. For when for the time you ought to be teachers, you have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim.
Now, what are the first principles of the oracles of Elohim?
Hear, O Israel.
That's the first principle, right? What's the next one? What's the next one? Being in subjection.
Right.
And this is what Israel hates to do, is be in subjection. See, Israel said, I'm grown.
Right.
Yeah, and you dead.
Why you live, huh?
This is why the Messiah said, except you accept the kingdom of Elohim as a little child. You shall know in no wise enter into that kingdom. Now, what's up with a child? A child has to be taught the things that it has to learn in life, right? Well, the same thing with the congregation all over there. They have to be taught these things. But then, when them children rebel against them, what do? We tear their little butt up, don't we? Okay, that's the same thing y'all do with us. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Last part of verse 12. And are become such as have need of milk, and not of strong meat. For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe.
It didn't say everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word that's written in the Bible. It said everyone that uses milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. But strong meat belongeth to them that are full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
Amen and amen. Now, according to the second 70 weeks of Daniel, this prophet would show up for the work. This prophet rather did show up for the work in the year of 26 ACE, as verified by St. John, the first chapter, as testified to by all the holy prophets and the apostles of Yisrael. Now let's go back into the law book. Let's go back into Numbers 27, and we're going to pick that up at verse 12 through verse 23. Numbers 27, verse 12 through verse 23. Now I can start my class. The first part of my class was entitled The Holiness of Priesthood. The next part of my class is entitled The Conquest. Numbers chapter 27 and verse 12 through verse 23. What? Yeah. Just after some time, brother, things be out of kilter, and you have to go ahead and get them squared away because before you get off into a whole lot of other things, forget to square those things away.
Numbers chapter 27, verses 12 through 23. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Get thee up into this Mount Abiram, and see the land which I have given unto the children of Israel. And when you have seen it, you also shall be gathered unto your people, as Aaron your brother was gathered. For you rebel against my commandment in the desert of sin, in the strife of the congregation, to sanctify me at the water before their eyes. That is the water of Meribah and Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin.
Now, what this shows is that Yahweh don't care who you are.
Mm-hmm.
When you rebel against him, he got something for you. Go ahead and read. Even though Moshe has been out in the wilderness with these folks here for 40 whole years, right? Suffered all of their ill manners and so forth and so on, right? Interceded, stood in the breach many times for, what did Yahweh tell him? You're going to die because you rebelled against me. But see, we don't think so. We think, well, Yahweh got to forgive me for, no, he hasn't. He didn't forgive his high priest, and he didn't forgive Moses, did he? Well, what make us think he's going to forgive us? What you think the judgment is set for? And don't say, well, I'm going to go and do these works, and I'm going to go do those works to cover my sin, because it's not going to happen. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 15. And Moshe spoke unto Yahweh, saying, Let Yahweh, the Elohim of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, which may go out before them, and which may go in before them, and which may lead them out, and which may bring them in, that the congregation of Yahweh be not as sheep which have no shepherd.
Praise Yah.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Take you Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand upon him.
He didn't tell him, say, you decide who's going to do it. He said, you go take Yahshua, the son of Nun. His name was Hoshea, and Moses gave him the name Yahshua. So you go take Yahshua, the son of Nun, and put your hands upon him. He's the one that I've chosen, right? Go ahead, brother.
And set him before Eleazar the priest, and before all the congregation, and give him a charge in their sight. Verse 20. And thou shalt put some of your honor upon him, that all the congregation of the children of Israel may be obedient. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall act counsel for him after the judgment of Urim before Yahweh. At his word shall they go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. And Moshe did as Yahweh commanded him, and he took Joshua and set him before Eleazar the priest and before all the congregation, and he laid his hands upon him and gave him a charge as Yahweh commanded by the hand of Moshe.
Deuteronomy 32 in verse 1 through 34 and 12. Deuteronomy 32 in verse 1 through chapter 34 and verse 12. You know, a long time ago, I had a brother come to me and tell me, say, you know what, man? Say, you know, I got the feeling, brother, that I really ain't learning anything in the congregation. I said, right. Have you studied the law book yet? Well, no, I read back. I didn't ask you that. Have you studied the law book yet? Well, not really. Well, then you ain't going to learn nothing. You ain't going to learn nothing. You're going to hear, you're going to read a whole lot of things, but you're not going to learn what you need to learn. What you need to learn is what? Holiness, righteousness, and justification is all about. Deuteronomy 32, and pick that up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. Give ear, O you heavens, and I will speak. And hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass, because I will publish the name of Yahweh, ascribe you greatness unto our Elohim. He is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways of judgment. A Elohim of truth and without iniquity, just and right is he.
Amen.
They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do you thus requite Yahweh, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he your father that have brought you? Have he not made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
That was at the Tower of Babel, wasn't it? That was back with Nimrod, right? Israel had not even come upon the earth as a nation of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what did he do? He had already set the bounds of the nation of Israel from the river Nile to the great river Euphrates. The whole Fertile Crescent he reserved to himself. It's the heart of the earth. And he had reserved to himself to do what? To give it to his people. Although his people wasn't worth a quarter, he still gave it to his people, didn't he? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 9. For Yahweh's portion is his people. Yaakov is the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land and in a waste howling wilderness. He led him about. He instructed him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings, so Yahweh alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the field. And he made him to suck honey out of the rocks, and oil out of the flinty rocks, butter of kine and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys of wheat. And you did drink the pure blood of the grapes. But Yeshurun waxed fat.
When
and
Yahweh
kicked.
gave him what he needed, what did he do? He waxed fat and kicked, didn't he? Huh? Don't we do the same thing? As soon as Yahweh become, oh man, I need to find the Lord. I need to get something done by my life, right? And then as soon as you find the truth, what folks want to do, wax fat and kick. Go ahead, brother.
Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook Elohim,
Then
which
you
made him.
forsake Elohim. You know why? Because of me. See? I this. I that. I this. I that. Who are you? Who am I? All flesh is as grass before Yahweh. We must remember these things. But see, it's Yahweh to choose to set things in order the way that he wants things in order. I'm no different from you. You're no different from me. We just have different offices, that's all. Go ahead and read, brother.
And lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. Verse 16. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrifice unto devils, not to Elohim.
Didn't Paul tell us who sacrificed the devil? He said, I say that the things that the Gentiles, the Europeans sacrifice, they sacrifice the devil. And I would not that you fellowship with devils, right? Most of our problems come because we fall in the ways of devil. People that sacrifice the devil. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 17. They sacrifice unto devils, not to Elohim, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not.
Right, now we got a new God on the scene. Call him Jesus Christ. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 18. Of the rock that begot you, you are unmindful, and have forgotten Elohim that formed you.
Most to show you that people have forgotten Elohim that formed us, what you do is this. You listen to folks talking about how much they know God, right? And then ask them, say, what's his name? That usually take care of the whole business, doesn't it? Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother. Of course not. Right. Right. Check that out. My personal Savior. Check that out. He come into my life, you know what I mean, and we sleep together. You know what I mean? We rise up together. Sound like you got a boyfriend in there to me.
Yeah, they got Reggie White, man. They got Reggie White on television now dealing with that thing about a personal relationship with God. And, Elder, the thing of it is when you deal with them, like the Jehovah's Witnesses and some of those other Christians, they call on Jehovah. You say, well, why can't you call on the Father's name? Why can't you call on Yahweh? Oh, well, we know his name is Yahweh.
But we can't use that.
We're in an English-speaking society, so we deal with Jesus and Jehovah. so they know what God they're worshiping in, right?
Brother, YHWH is YHWH, and pronounced it in any
Right.
language
That's
all over the world. It's pronounced Yahweh.
Yeah, right.
See, they the one that added all the vowels and everything. When you look at the name that they came up with, brother, it has a whole lot of derogatory meanings to it. You see, but what man does is this: man wants to change things to suit him. So, well, I'm not going to call him Yahweh. I'm going to call him Jehovah. No, that's not the Creator's name. You try that on the Day of Judgment and see what happens.
Uh-oh.
The Scripture say, "My people shall know my name." Right? Well, the people don't know his name. But yet still they claim to love him so much. They claim that he's given them so much. But when I read who control all the wealth of the earth, it was the adversary of the devil. Wow. Right. Okay. Especially with us being under them curses. If you got you a good job and you doing all right, you need to always be on your knees thanking the God of Israel. But believe me one thing, it's going to come a day when you're going to wish you still had that job. Go ahead and read, brother. This is why I tell y'all, you need to get your bonus ready now. See, I'm a kind of brother. I'm kind of glad Yahweh didn't give me too much, so when I lose mine, I ain't gonna be out of too much. See, I'm already on the bottom rung of the ladder, so it ain't far for me to step down.
Brother, you ain't sitting in the boat by yourself.
Go ahead and read, brother.
Niggas think they got something, they ain't got nothing.
You may have suicide rate as high as that long as European man.
Well, when it's quite possible, brother. It's quite possible. Jake gonna start looking around and seeing something is up, and he's gonna start doing a lot of things, especially when we start being put out. See, this is why the Scripture told you, say, make friends of the unrighteous mammon, so that when you're put out, they will accept you into their everlasting habitations. It's Yahweh that's going to make the nation be good to us. Like he told our people when we came out of Egypt, borrow from your Egyptians jewels of gold and jewels of silver, right? Okay. In order for you to do that, you have to make friends with them. That don't mean you got to learn the ways. What's going to keep you in their friendship is they're going to see your righteousness. And they're going to think they're going to do this, thinking God's going to show them a favor.
Just like that brother, on the job said, he said Hosea Williams on television, man. He said, man, Atlanta ain't got but one more black mayor, and after that, white folks are going to steal Atlanta up.
That's what they did in Gary, Indiana. They elected those black mayors, and the black mayors, and look at this, and the city went to pot. And then they elected them a white mayor, and the white mayor started paving streets and building different things, man. And it was black folks control the city council. You know what they say? We got all this money, but we gonna keep it until we get us a black mayor. And this white dude trying to build up things like the way they're supposed to, right? So what's happening is this: by them kicking against the pricks and so forth, they got these people coming in, buying up all that property, right? And black folks ain't doing nothing. You know why? They're going to take back over these cities.
Yeah, brother, I'm not going to speak inconvenient in your class, but the Europeans are all over in Kirkwood and everywhere now, man.
Sure they are.
Everywhere, buying all that used to be slum up, brother.
Sure, because they got them for a little or nothing. Now, once they get in there and kind of spruce things up, and the managers of that downtown structure begin to move in around the perimeter of downtown, watch and see how the property value goes up.
Yeah, they have property value now in those areas. Some of those houses, the lead renovation are going for That's the lead renovation.
The one.
Right off the bat.
The one that I was staying in, brother, the guy was going to sell me it for $18,000. And you know, the guy that's in that house now pays $78,000 for it. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 19. And when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not Elohim. They have provoked me to anger with their vanity.
With their what? With their vanity. Go ahead, brother.
And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
And haven't he done it?
He
The
sure
Europeans
has,
got everything. They just as foolish as they want to be, haven't they? But they got everything, and we trying to get what they got more, aren't we? And we are being provoked to jealousy, aren't we? Seem like everything we do, we got to struggle and strive so hard for it, right? And you look over there at the Europeans, they jump up with it. Say, man, this dude here just got a job 4 months ago, and he got all of this. And people won't even let me have nothing because my credit is bad, right? People looking out for their own, and that's something that we don't do. We don't look out for our own. What we do is we fight each other. And the Europeans know it. This is why they keep us in classes and so forth, so we can strive against one another. Men of God, men and women of Yahweh must not strive, and we are always striving about something. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 22. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischief upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without and terror within shall destroy both the young men and the virgins, the suckling also with the man of gray hair.
So we got the sword without from the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the terror from within coming from our own people. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 26. I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and Yahweh have not done all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them.
That's because we don't keep the laws of Yahweh. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 29. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them and Yahweh had shut them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons and the cruel venom of asps.
That wine he's talking about is these various religions that we are practicing. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 34. Is not this laid up in store with me and sealed up among my treasures? To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. For Yahweh shall judge his people and repent himself for his servants when he seeth that their power is gone and there is none shut up or left.
And this is what's going on now. He's judging his people, and he's repenting himself for his service because we haven't got any power anymore. See, our priesthood has become a priesthood that mankind considers to be cultism. And Israel don't want to deal with us. So our power is gone simply because we haven't consolidated that power. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 37. And he shall say, where are their gods, their rock in whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them rise up and help you and be your protection. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, and I make alive. I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever.
Praise Yah.
If I wet my glittering sword, and mine hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies, and will reward them that hate me.
Praise Yah.
I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives from the beginning of revenges upon the enemy.
In other words, Israel is going to be slaughtered off just like the enemy is going to be slaughtered off.
True.
Why? Because we won't turn to the true and living God. As a matter of fact, the scripture told us, 2/3 is going to be cut off and die.
Mhm.
2/3. Boy, it's going to be more of us killed than it is going to be people killed in that at Armageddon. Right, bro.
Well, you know, it's very clear that it says that there is no God with me. There's only one God, one church, one faith, and one baptism. When you look at various denominations of Christianity and other religions, you see that there's diversity. They haven't, as you say, haven't got the line straight.
Mm-hmm.
And if a man is minded by the Spirit of God and truth and believes in his Bible, then he will have to agree with what's said, that there's one church, one faith, one God, one baptism.
Right, man says that. But see, when you get off into the book of Revelations, brother, it was just before Yahweh got ready to pour his wrath upon the earth that great multitude came through that great tribulation, right? That's when man is going to grab on to the true and living God. Right now, brother, them strangers ain't going to hang too tough. They hang for a minute, brother, but they don't like the blessing that Israel got. So that usually ends that. They standing as long as they can, but when they find out that they ain't going to be chief, it ain't going to work. They lose all the faith and everything and find reasons not to hang out anymore. Right. The word offends them, brother. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 43. Rejoice, O you nations, with his people.
With his people, not by yourself. Well, we rejoicing with the nations, aren't we? We rejoicing with the Christians on Sunday, right? And we rejoicing with the Muslims all the rest of the weekend.
Right.
Go ahead, brother.
For he will avenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his land and to his people.
Praise Yah.
And Moshe came and spoke all the words of this song in the ears of the people, he and Oshiel the son of Nun. And Moshe made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel. And Moshe said unto them, set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day, which you shall command your children to observe to do, all the words of this law. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life. And through this thing you shall prolong your days in the wilderness to where you go over Jordan to possess it. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe that self-same day, said, get thee up into this mountain of Abarim unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho. And behold the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession, and die in the mount to where you go up, and be gathered unto your people, as Aaron your brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered unto his people. Because you trespass against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah, Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because you sanctified me not in the midst of the children of Israel. Yet you shall see the land before you, but you shall not go thither unto the land which I give the children of Israel.
Now, a lot of folks probably stood around and talked that yin-yang. Yeah, see? We know why it killed Moses. Moses was this and Moses was that, right? But when you get in the New Testament, Moshe was seen on the Mount of Transfiguration, was in glory. Go ahead and read, brother. See, we think one thing, but we don't know the mind and heart of Yahweh. See, we are quick to say, well, so-and-so and so-and-so, and so-and-so and so-and-so, but you don't know the mind of Yahweh, so the best thing to do is let your answers be yea and nay, because anything other than that could be sin to you. Go ahead and read, brother.
Shabbat Shalom, Brother Nino. We're Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 1. And this is the blessing wherewith Moshe, the man of Elohim, blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, Elohim came from Sinai and rose from Seir unto them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000s of saints. From his right hand went a fiery law for them.
Even another brother in the beginning of the scripture, didn't Enoch say Yahweh is going to come with 10,000 of his saints? Here we are right here with how many? 10,000 of his saints, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in your land. And they sat in your hand, and they sat down at your feet. Every one shall receive of thy words. Moshe commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Yaakov. And he was king in Yeshurun when the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel were gathered together. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few. And this is the blessing of Yehudah. And he said, Hear, Yahweh, the voice of Yehudah, and bring him unto his people. Let his hand be sufficient for him, and be you a help to him from his enemies.
Amen.
And of Levi he said, Let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with thy Holy One, whom you did prove at Massah, and with whom you did strive at the waters of Meribah, who said unto his father and to his mother, I have not seen him. Neither did he acknowledge his brethren, nor knew his own children, for they have observed your word and kept your covenant. They shall teach Jacob thy judgment, and Israel thy law. They shall put incense before thee, and whole burnt sacrifice upon your altar.
Amen. And to show you how this thing works, if you go ahead and keep on reading, you're going to find out some things about the sons of Aaron. Abithar was one of David's mighty men until he fell. You see, and then we had Zodok. Zodok was the one that poured the oil and poured the oil on Solomon in his coronation, right? And we read in Ezekiel that the sons of Zodok was going to do what? Minister to Yahweh in his temple. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 11. Bless Yahweh his substance, and accept the works of his hands. Smite through the loins of them that rise against him, and of them that hate him, that they rise not again. And of Benjamin he said, The beloved of Yahweh shall dwell in safety by him, and Yahweh shall cover him all the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders.
He shall dwell between his shoulders, right? Wasn't Benjamin on the north part of the land of Judah? Okay. Go ahead, brother. And Judah, Benjamin, and Levi were the three tribes that was in the land. As a matter of fact, when Yahweh separated the tribes, who did he give to Judah? Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. And of Joseph he said, Blessed of Yahweh be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew and for the deep that couches beneath, and for the precious fruit brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things put forth by the moon, and for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the lasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth and fullness thereof, and for the good will of him that dwelt in the bush, let the blessing come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the top of him that was separated from his brethren. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. And of Zebulun he said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tent. They shall call the people unto the mountains. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, but they shall suck of the abundance of the seas, and of treasures hid in the sand. And of Gad he said, Blessed be he that enlarges Gad. He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head. And he provided the first part for himself, because there in a portion of the lawgiver was he seated. And he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of Yahweh and his judgment with Israel. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with the blessings of Yahweh, possess you the west and the south. And of Asher he said, Let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. Your shoes shall be with iron and brass, and as your days, so shall your strength be. There is none like unto the Elohim of Yeshurun, who rideth upon the heaven in your help, and in his excellency on the sky. The eternal Elohim is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And he shall thrust out the enemy from before you, and shall say, destroy them. Yisrael then shall dwell in safety alone. The fountain of Jacob shall be upon a land of corn and wine. Also his heaven shall drop down dew. Happy are you, O Yisrael, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency? And your enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and you shall tread upon their high places.
Praise Yah.
And Moshe went up from the plains of Moab unto the mountains of Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, that is over against Jericho. And Yahweh showed unto him all the land of Gilead, unto Dan and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Yehudah unto the utmost sea, and the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees unto Zoar. And Yahweh said unto him, this is the land which I swore unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto your seed. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not go over there. So Moshe, the servant of Yahweh, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of Yahweh. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor. No man knoweth of his grave until this day. And Moshe was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And the children of Israel wept for Moshe in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moshe were ended. And Yahshua, the son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moshe had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel hearkened unto him, and did as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moshe, whom Yahweh knew face to face, in all the signs and the wonders which Yahweh sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to all his land. And in all that mighty hand, and in all that great terror, which Moshe showed in the sight of all Yisrael.
Oh, God. Joshua chapter 1 and verse 1, my brother. Yeshua chapter 1 and verse 1.
In verse 10 of chapter 34 in Deuteronomy, it says, and there arose not a prophet in Israel like unto Moshe, whom Yahweh knew face to face. And then also in 33, in verse 11, it says, and Yahweh spake unto Moshe face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again to the camp, and the servant Yahshua, son of Nun, the young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. But then also, it says in verse 20 of that same chapter, and he said, you cannot see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. But it also said he spoke unto him face to face. It says, if you can't see his face, no man can see his face.
No one could see the face of Yahweh and live. But Moshe talked with an angel. It wasn't Yahweh that Moshe talked with. Remember at the burning bush? It was an angel in the burning bush, wasn't it? Right? And remember he told Moshe, say, look, I'm going to send my angel before you to keep you in the way, but don't you provoke him, because he will not pardon your sin, right? So he did speak to Moshe through the angel, but no man can look upon the face of Yahweh and live, brother. See, that's what that was. It's just knowing who you're dealing with. When sometime when you get a chance to go in the book of Hosea and read the book of Hosea, and even in the New Testament it told us that we had received the law through the dispensation of angels, right? Well, then who was it up on the mountain? See, but the angel said, I'm the Lord your God, didn't he? Why did he say that? Because he was a son of God. He had that authority.
So the angel was in the pillar of that cloud that stood in the tabernacle?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've always dealt with angels. That's why Christ told the people, say, you neither seen his shape or heard his voice at any time. See, it was the angels that proclaimed to be the God of Israel. It's just like the priests of today. They represent the Messiah, don't they? See what I mean? So they are also, so you can see the representation that's there. But it wasn't Yahweh himself that was there, my brother. These were all this was done through the dispensation of angels. Yahweh has never been to this earth. The heavens and the heaven of heavens can't contain him. So how can he come to this earth?
Elder, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I just want to ask you one particular angel. The angel that basically the children of Israel were dealing with in their distress and when it was in the sea. That angel was Michael, right?
Michael
up for the children of Israel in
Michael
time
and Gabriel.
Okay.
Those are the two angels that basically do all the ministering and so forth for the children of Israel. But what you do is you go in the prophet Zechariah, and you can see that it was 7 spirits there at Zechariah. It was 5 outside of the temple, and it was 2 olive trees that was inside of the temple when you saw in the temple, right? So those were the 7 spirits. They've always been here. They've always been here to minister to the children of Israel. These are the 7 spirits. This was the reason for the lampstand with the 7 lights. These spirits control everything that goes on. They control legions of angels. This is why in Daniel, first chapter, when you get in the 11th chapter of Daniel, it says, and at that time, Michael shall stand up. It was talking about the Pope. It said, he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince will stand up for your people, and at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone that had been found written in the book. Now when you get back and read in other places in Daniel, he told Daniel, said, look, he said, no one withholds with me with these things, but Michael, your prince.
Right.
Well, another example, I believe, there was Daniel would be when Daniel, Shadrach, Azariah, were in the fiery furnace, and they looked in the furnace, and there was 3 in there originally, and it said, behold, there's a 4th man, one like unto the Son of Man. So that was a reference to the Son of Man, but it wasn't him, it was the angel that obviously had the ability to protect these young children during the perilous situation.
In other words, when they looked in that furnace, he saw somebody else like another man in there. That's why it said, like unto the Son of Man. And even in the lion's den, Daniel said, when Nebuchadnezzar came down to Daniel, said, I know you God kept you. He said, yeah, I came to shut that lion's mouth, man. He said, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. Yahweh sent his angel. The angels had always been there to protect them. The angel showed up at Paul and told Paul, so you go into the city, don't be afraid, because not a hair of your head is going to be harmed. Go ahead, brother. Right. Somebody else had something to say?
I was just saying that was coming appearance, and so Paul was going into the city, not having it.
Right. Brother, when Yahweh send you on a journey, man, you ain't got nothing to be afraid of, brother. What happens is we allow things to come up and allow fear to get into our heart. But you ain't got nothing to be afraid of. If you die, you're dead. There ain't nothing you can do about that. So I don't see why people fear so much that something's going to happen to them. It's just like when I took this job here, I knew what the consequences of this job might be. But hey, if that's what the deal is, then that's what the deal is going to be. A nigga gonna die from something one day sooner or later anyway. So I might as well die in the hands of Yahweh than to die out there messing around in the street with Satan. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Joshua chapter 1, verse 1. Now after the death of Moshe, the servant of Yahweh, it came to pass that Yahweh spoke unto Yeshua, the son of Nun, Moshe's minister, saying, Moshe, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moshe. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun shall be your coast.
So we see that not only is that part of the Fertile Crescent belongs to Israel, but also Lebanon is part of Israel, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moshe, so will I be with thee. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Be strong and of good courage, for unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land which I swore unto their fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the law which Moshe my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper whithersoever you go. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall have good success.
If you do what? If you keep the words of this law, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For Yahweh thy Elohim is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. You just said that, didn't you? Verse 10. Then Yahshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the host and command the people, saying, Prepare you victuals, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go in to possess the land which Yahweh your Elohim giveth you to possess it.
Chapter 3 and verse 1, my brother. I tell you what you do. Why don't you pick that up in chapter 2 and verse 1. Let's go and read about some things about Jericho. I think we need to cover some of that.
Verse 2. Chapter 2, I'm sorry. Yahshua chapter 2, verse 1. And Yahshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, Go view the land, even Jericho. And they went and came into a harlot's house named Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, Behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country. And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, Bring forth the men that are come to you, which are entered into your house, for they be come to search out all the country. And the woman took the 2 men and hid them, and said, Thus there came men unto me, but I knew not whence they were. And it came to pass about the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whether the men went, I knew not. Pursue after them quickly, for you shall overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house, and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the ford, and as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate. And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof. And she said unto the men, I know that Yahweh hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how Yahweh dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did unto the 2 kings of the Amorites that were on the other side Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For Yahweh, your Elohim, he is Elohim in heaven above and in earth beneath. Now therefore, I pray you, swear unto me by Yahweh, since I have shown you kindness, that you will also show kindness unto my father's house, and give me a true token. And that you will save alive my father and my mother and my brethren and my sisters, and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. And the men answered her, Our life for yours, if you utter not this our business. And it shall be, when Yahweh hath given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with you. Then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. And she said unto them, Get you to the mountains, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves there 3 days, until the pursuers be returned, and afterwards may you go your way. And the men said unto her, We will be blameless of this your oath which you have made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, you shall bind this line of scarlet thread in the window which you did let us down by, and you shall bring your father and your mother and your brethren and all your father's house home unto you. And it shall be that whosoever shall go out of the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be upon his head, and we will be guiltless. And whosoever shall be with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head, if any hand be upon him. And if you utter this our business, then we will be quit of your oath which you have made us to swear. And she said, According unto your word, so be it. Verse 21. And she said, According unto your word, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed. And she bound the scarlet line in the window. And they went and came unto the mountain, and abode there 3 days, until the pursuers were returned. And the pursuers sought them throughout all the way, but found them not. So the 2 men returned, and descended from the mountain, and passed over, and came to Joshua, the son of Nun, and told him all things that befell them. And they said unto Joshua, Truly Yahweh hath delivered into our hands all the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us. And Joshua rose early in the morning, and they removed from Shittim and came to Jordan, he and all the children of Israel, and lodged there before that they passed over. And it came to pass after 3 days that the officers went through the host. And they commanded the people, saying, When you see the ark of the covenant of Yahweh your Elohim, and the priests the Levites bearing it, then you shall remove from your place and go after it. Yet there shall be a space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. Come not near unto it, that you may know the way by which you must go, for you have not passed this way heretofore. And Joshua said unto the people, Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow Yahweh will do wonders among you. And Joshua spoke unto the priests, saying, Take up the ark of the covenant, and pass over before the people. And they took up the ark of the covenant, and went before the people. And Yahweh said unto Joshua, This day will I begin to magnify you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that, as I was with Moshe, so will I be with you. And you shall command the priests that bear the ark of the covenant, saying, When you are come to the brink of the water of Jordan, you shall stand still in Jordan. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, Come hither, and hear the words of Yahweh your Elohim. And Joshua said, Hereby you shall know that the living Elohim is among you, and that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Hivites and the Perizzites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Adonai of all the earth passes over before you into Jordan. Now therefore take you 12 men out of the tribes of Israel, out of every tribe a man, and it shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of Yahweh, the Adonai of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of Jordan, that the waters of Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above, and they shall stand upon an heap. And it came to pass, when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as they that bear the ark were come unto Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time of harvest, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon a heap very far from the city, Adam, that is beside Saritan, and those that came down toward the sea of the plain, even the salt sea fell and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. And the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of Yahweh stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan, and all the Israelites passed over on dry ground until all the people were passed clean over Jordan.
Chapter 5 and verse 1, brother. Yes. They washed their clothes and took a bath and everything, and oiled themselves up real good and set themselves aside. Stopped doing all that other junk they was off into, and set themselves aside for the Master's use. They sanctify themselves the same way that we supposed to sanctify ourselves before we come to the congregation on these holy days. Same thing. Set yourself aside for the Master's use. Go ahead now, read, Steve.
Yeshua chapter 5, verse 1. And it came to pass, when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of the Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that Yahweh had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel until we were passed over, that their heart melted. Neither was there spirit in them any more because of the children of Israel. At that time Yahweh said unto Joshua, make you sharp knives and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time.
Right, because they hadn't been circumcised, and they needed to have their circumcision before they can receive their portions of the land. They were going into the Holy Land. They had to be a holy people, so they had to be circumcised again.
So this kind of appertains to what they were dealing with in Acts, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When they got that thing straight about the Gentiles being circumcised.
Correct.
Okay. Verse 3. And Yeshua made him sharp knives and circumcised the children of Israel at the heel of the foreskin. And this is the cause why Yeshua did circumcise all the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way after they came out of Egypt. Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness by the way as they came forth out of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. But the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the people that were men of war which came out of Egypt were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of Yahweh, unto whom Yahweh swore that he would not show them the land which Yahweh swore unto their fathers, that he would give us, a land that floweth with milk and honey. And their children, whom he raised up in their stead, them Yeshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp, till they were whole. And Yahweh said unto Yeshua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal until this day. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corns in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land, neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. And it came to pass, when Yeshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Yeshua went unto him and said unto him, are you for us or for our adversaries? And he said, no, but as a captain of the host of Yahweh am I now come. And Yeshua fell on his face to the earth, and did worship, and said unto him, what says my Lord unto his servant? And the captain of Yahweh's host said unto Yeshua, loose your shoe from off your foot, for the place whereon you stand is holy. And Yeshua did so. Now Jericho was straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out and none came in. And Yahweh said unto Yeshua, see, I have given into your hand Jericho and the king thereof and the mighty men of valor. And you shall compass the city, all you men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shall you do 6 days. And the 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns. And the 7th day you shall compass the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they shall make a long blast with the ram's horn, And when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark of Yahweh. And he said unto the people, Pass on and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of Yahweh.
Verse 15.
And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times. Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priest blew with the trumpets, Yahshua said unto the people, Shout, for Yahweh hath given you the city. And the city shall be accursed, even it and all that are therein, to Yahweh. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all that are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. And you, in any wise, keep yourselves from the accursed things, lest you make yourself accursed when you take of the accursed things, and make the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are consecrated unto Yahweh. They shall come into the treasury of Yahweh. So the people shouted when the priest blew with the trumpet, and it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep, and ass with the edge of the sword. But Joshua had said unto the 2 men that had spied out the country, Go into the harlot's house, and bring out thence the woman and all that she have, as she swore unto her. And the young men that were spies went in, and brought out Rahab and her father and her mother and her brethren, and all that she had. And they brought out all her kindred, and left them without the camp of Israel. And they burnt the city with fire, and all that was therein. Only the silver and the gold and the vessels of brass and iron they put into the treasury of the house of Yahweh. And Joshua saved Rahab the harlot alive, and her father's household, and all that she had. And she dwelleth in Israel even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. And Joshua adjured them at that time, saying, Cursed be the man before Yahweh that rises up and buildeth this city Jericho. He shall lay the foundation thereof, in his firstborn, and in his youngest son shall he set up the gates of it. So Yahweh was with Joshua, and his fame was noised throughout all the country. But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed things. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Yehudah, took up the accursed things, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against the children of Israel. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethhaven on the east side of Bethel, and spoke unto them, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. And they returned to Joshua and said unto him, Let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ai, and make not all the people to labor there, for they are but few. So there went up there of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. And the men of Ai smote of them about 36 men. But they chased them from before the gate even unto Shebarim, and smote them in the going down. Wherefore the hearts of the people melted, and became as water. And Joshua rent his clothes, and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of Yahweh until the eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads. And Joshua said, Alas, O Adonai Elohim, why have you at all brought this people over Jordan to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us? Would to Elohim we had been content and dwelt on the other side Jordan. O Adonai, what shall I say when Israel turneth their backs before their enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall environ us round, and cut off our name from the earth. And what will you do unto your great name? And Yahweh said unto Yahshua, Get you up. Why do you lie in that manner upon your face? Israel have sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them, for they have even taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. Therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you anymore, except you destroy the accursed thing from among you. Up, sanctify the people, and say, Sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, for thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, there is an accursed thing in the midst of you, O Israel. You cannot stand before your enemies until you take away the accursed thing from among you.
And the same thing happened with us. We can't stand before our enemies, and we are stagnated until we get things straight among us. This is why our membership or nothing doesn't increase until we get things in order. And once we get things in order, then our membership increase. When our membership increase, we are given more power. It's a blessing for us because we are given more power from the God of Israel. Because now we change from dead works to serve the true and living God. See, this is why I tell you, do things decently and in order, and things will work right. But when you go and want to do things the way you want to do them, or the way somebody else told you to do them, then you got a problem. We all have a problem. When one member of the congregation suffer, all of us suffer. When one member of the congregation is blessed, all of us receive blessing. Amen. Go ahead and read, brother.
Joshua chapter 7, verse 14. In the morning, therefore, you shall be brought according to your tribes, and it shall be that the tribe which Yahweh taketh shall come according to the families thereof, and the family which Yahweh shall take shall come by the households, and the household which Yahweh shall take shall come man by man. And it shall be that he that is taken with the accursed thing shall be burnt with fire, he and all that he hath, because he hath transgressed the covenant of Yahweh, and because he hath wrought folly in Israel. So Yahshua rose up early in the morning, and brought Israel by their tribes, and the tribe of Yehudah was taken. And he brought the family of Yehudah, and he took the family of the Sarhites, and he brought the family of the Sarhites man by man, and Zabdi was taken. And he brought his household man by man, and Achan the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Yehudah was taken. And Yahshua said unto Achan, My son, give, I pray you, glory to Yahweh Elohim of Israel, and make confession unto him, and tell me now what you have done, and hide it not from me. And Achan answered Yahshua and said, Indeed I have sinned against Yahweh Elohim of Israel, and thus have I done. When I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonish garment, and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, then I coveted them and took them, and behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it.
Right. This is what happened when folks be going in folks' purses and so forth, taking stuff out of their purses and so forth, right? Go ahead, brother. See, they think, oh, don't nobody see me. Yes, you do. Right. Yes, you do. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 22. So Yahshua sent messengers, and they ran unto the tent, and behold, it was hid in his tent, and the silver under it. And they took them out of the midst of the tent, and brought them unto Yahshua, and unto all the children of Israel, and laid them out before Yahweh. And Yahshua and all Israel with him took Achan the son of Zerah, and the silver, and the garment, and the wedge of gold, and his sons, and his daughters, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that he had, and they brought them unto the valley of Achor.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahshua said, Why have you troubled us? Yahweh shall trouble you this day. And all Israel stoned him with stones, and burned them with fire, after they had stoned them with stones. So, brother, his family had to suffer because of him, right?
Everything you own, brother. That's
they
the way it happens.
They may not have been privy to that whole thing.
That's the way it happens, brother. The blessings come in through the family head.
Right.
See, now, his wife, she didn't take the stuff.
Right.
His children didn't take the stuff.
Right.
He took it and went and hid it in his tent, right? And what happened? Man, what Yahweh care about flesh ain't nothing.
Right.
See, what did he do? He killed him, his wife, his sons, his daughters, his ox, his ass, burn up the tent, everything, right? Everything he had. His name ceased from among men. Sure. Didn't make no difference which tribe come. Niggas, man. Go ahead and read, brother. I haven't the foggiest idea. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, okay, brother. Yeah. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 26. And they raised over him a great heap of stones unto this day. So Yahweh turned from the fierceness of his anger, wherefore the name of that place was called the Valley of Achor unto this day.
Now, if you want to pick up some things that's going to happen, now remember they're in the Valley of Achor, right? They just crossed the Jordan going into Israel, right? Now, they was in the Valley of Achor. Now, what you do, you go and read OC 2 and verse 14 through chapter 3 and verse 5, and you're going to find that that's the same place that we're going to go back into once we go in, to the wilderness, when he tell you he's going to give us the Valley of Achor for a door of hope. Right. This is the door into the land of Israel right here. Yeah, Hosea. Hosea 2 and verse 14 through chapter 3 and verse 5.
Well, it really shows and reflects of how the sin in one segment of a person's family corrupts the entire family.
Sure.
Whether they're involved or not.
Sure.
Just that sin in a congregation for one individual, leavened or unleavened, makes the whole congregation unleavened.
Of course.
Or leavened.
Of course. People just don't realize the harm that sin does. They do their little atrocities and get away with it. They think, Yahweh pat them on the wrist, and they think they got away with something, not understanding the harm that sin does, because eventually that same sin what you've done is going to cause somebody else some serious problems, especially in your own household, brother. Go ahead and read, brother.
Joshua chapter 8, verse 1.
Now let's go to chapter 10 and verse 1. My brother.
Joshua chapter 10, verse 1. Now it came to pass, when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Yahshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her kings, so he had done to Ai and her kings, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were among them, that they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. Wherefore Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Piram, king of Yarmut, and unto Yaphiah, king of Lachish, and unto Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up unto me and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for it have made peace with Yahshua and with the children of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Yarmut, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they and all their hosts, and encamped before Gibeon and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Yahshua to the camp to Gilgal, saying, Slack not your hand from your servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Yahshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And Yahweh said unto Yahshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into your hand. There shall not a man of them stand before you.
Now remember when Noah cursed Canaan?
Right.
He said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be, right? Now, what happened to Jericho? Didn't all of those kings of Canaan die except the Amorites? Now we're dealing with them.
Okay.
Go ahead and read, brother.
Is this where the iniquity of the Amorites is being fulfilled?
Well, the iniquity of the Amorites wasn't fulfilled till later on. The iniquity of the Amorites was them sacrificing their children. And this won't take place till later on. But go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 9. Yahshua therefore came unto them suddenly and went up from Gilgal all night. And Yahweh discomfited them before Israel and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon and chased them along the way that goes up to Beth-horon and smote them to Azekah and unto Mekkedah. And it came to pass as they fled from before Israel and were in the going down to Beth-horon that Yahweh cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword.
Yahweh always fought his battles, didn't he? Yeah, he told David once, man. It reminds me of a story I read with David. David kept asking, said, shall I go up? Shall I go up? David ran to fight, right? He said, no, don't go up. Just wait. When you hear the marching in the mulberry trees, then you go up, right? And when David heard the marching in the mulberry trees, he got up and went to war, and the angels killed off more folks than David did. That's what I like about Yahweh, brother. All you got to do is put your troubles upon him. He's going to fight your battle for you.
He had one incident where the children of Israel fled, somebody ran the tribe in the woods, brother, and they were killed. More of them were killed by running in the woods, right?
Sure.
Running the trees. And
right,
them,
right.
right.
The woods killed them all. Right. Right, brother. Yeah.
Well, that was, but also there were instances like where Yahweh told the mighty men to decrease the number of warriors. That they were going to go up and fight, and he said, told them the number, he said, no, cut back. And so that when the battle is won, you won't think
you did it. Right.
Like that
right,
glory, bro.
Right.
Like that glory.
Right. The same thing happened with Elisha, man. Elijah was with one of his servants, and the man told him, man, look here. I'm looking at all these people out there, and ain't nobody here but me and you. You talking about what we going to do? We ain't going to do nothing, Jack. And Elijah told him, say, Yahweh opened his eyes. And he opened his eyes, and the mountains was full of chariots of angels.
Chariots of fire.
Go ahead and read, brother.
Hallelujah.
Verse 12. Then spoke Yahshua to Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand you still upon Mount Gibeon, and you, moon, in the valley of Ayalon.
Right. He commanded these things to happen, right? He didn't say, Lord, let this happen. He commanded these things to happen, didn't he? The spirits are subject unto you. Don't forget that. The spirits are subject unto you. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Yeshua? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that Yahweh hearkened unto the voice of a man. For Yahweh fought for Israel, and Yahshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp to Gilgal. But these 5 kings fled, and hid themselves in a cave at Mekkedah. And it was told Yahshua, saying, the 5 kings are found hid in a cave at Mekkedah. And Yahshua said, roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave, and set men by it for to keep them. And stay you not, but pursue after your enemies, and smite the hindermost of them. Suffer them not to enter into their cities. For Yahweh your Elohim have delivered them into your hand. And it came to pass, when Yahshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter, till they were consumed, that the rest which remained of them entered into fenced cities. And all the people returned to the camp to Yahshua at Mekkedah in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. Then said Yahshua, open the mouth of the cave, and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave. And they did so, and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Yarmouth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass, when they brought out those kings unto Yahshua, that Yahshua called for all the men of Israel, and said unto the captains of the men of war which went with him, come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. And Yahshua said unto them, Fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage. For thus shall Yahweh do to all your enemies against whom you fight. And afterward Yahshua smote them and slew them and hanged them on 5 trees. And they were hanging upon the trees until the evening. So they showed them a little respect, didn't they, brother?
Of course, they followed the law.
They hung them and then put them away before the sun went down.
Right, that's what the law said, that when you hang a man, he shall not stay on the tree until the sun's down.
Right.
See, that's the same thing they had to do with the Messiah. They had to take him down before sunset. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Verse 27. And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun that Yahshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave's mouth, which remain unto this very day.
Verse 40.
So Yahshua smote all the country of the hills, and of the south, and of the vale, and of the springs, and all their kings. He left none remaining, but utterly destroyed all that breathed, as Yahweh Elohim of Israel commanded. And Yahshua smote them from Kadesh Barnea unto Gaza, and all the country of Goshen, even unto Gibeon. And all these kings and their land did Yahshua take at one time, because Yahweh Elohim of Israel fought for Israel. And Yahshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp to Gilgal.
Okay, my brother. Let's go into chapter 14, rather than verse 1.
Yahshua chapter 14, verse 1.
Now, y'all need to read all of this history, because it's your history. It's the only place you're going to find it at, and you need to know your history. It's the boringest part of the Bible, but it's your history, and you need to read your history. Because when you read your history, you're going to find out that you're going to hear about some things that's going to bring back some remembrance to you about things that was talked about in various churches or something that had to do with religion in this country here. Go ahead, brother.
Yahshua chapter 14, verse 1. And these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest and Yahshua the son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel distributed for inheritance to them. By lot was their inheritance, as Yahweh commanded by the hand of Moshe, for the 9 tribes and for the half-tribes.
Remember, 2 of the tribes stayed on the other side of the Jordan. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3. For Moshe had given the inheritance of 2 tribes and half-tribes on the other side Jordan, but unto the Levites he gave none inheritance among them. For the children of Joseph were two tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in, with their suburbs, for their cattle and for their substance. As Yahweh commanded Moshe, so the children of Israel did, and they divided the land. Then the children of Yehudah came unto Yahshua in Gilgal, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite said unto him, Thou knowest the things that Yahweh said unto Moshe the man of Elohim concerning me and you in Kadesh Barnea. 40 years old was I when Moshe the servant of Yahweh sent me from Kadesh Barnea to espy out the land, and I brought him word again as it was in mine heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed the Yahweh my Elohim. And Moshe swore on that day, saying, Surely the land wherein your feet have trodden shall be your inheritance and your children's forever, because you have wholly followed Yahweh your Elohim.
Chapter 18 and verse 1.
And the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh, and set up the tabernacle of the congregation there. And the land was subdued before them.
Chapter 24 and verse 1.
And Yahshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem and called for the elders of Israel and for their heads and for their judges and for their officers, and they presented themselves before Yahweh. And Yahshua said unto all the people, Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, Your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old times, even Terah, the father of Abraham, and the father of Nahor, and they served other gods.
Right. They served gods of silver, right? Their father, Abraham's father, was Terah, was a maker of silver, of gods of silver. That's how they acquired all their wealth. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 3, And I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood, and led him throughout all the land of Canaan, and multiplied his seed, and gave him Esau. And I gave unto Esau Jacob and Esau, and I gave unto Esau Mount Seir to possess it, but Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. I sent Moshe also and Aaron, and I plagued Egypt according to that which I did among them, and afterward I brought you out.
Verse 14.
Now therefore fear Yahweh, and serve him in sincerity and truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve you Yahweh.
Amen.
And if it seem evil unto you to serve Yahweh, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh.
Praise Yah.
And the people answered and said, Elohim forbid that we should forsake Yahweh to serve other gods. For Yahweh, our Elohim, he it is that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, and which did those great signs in our sight, and preserved us in all the way, wherein we went, and among all the people through whom we passed. And Yahweh drove out from before us all the people, even the Amorites which dwelt in the land. Therefore will we also serve Yahweh, for he is our Elohim. And Yahshua said unto the people, You cannot serve Yahweh.
You cannot serve Yahweh, for he is the holy God. And he said, Be you holy as I am holy.
Right.
Well, if you're unholy, then who you serving? Go ahead, brother.
For he is a holy Elohim.
I'm not talking about holiness as far as man sees it. I'm talking about holiness as far as Yahweh imputes righteousness to man. Go ahead and read, brother.
He is a jealous Elohim. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. If you forsake Yahweh and serve strange gods, then he will turn and do you hurt, and will consume you after he have done you good. And the people said unto Yahshua, No, but we will serve Yahweh. And Yahshua said unto the people, You are witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen you Yahweh to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. Now therefore put away, said he, the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel.
Now, they done been out there 40 years, then got into the land, and they still got strange gods among them, and going to say, yeah, we're going to serve Yahweh. Like Moshe said, you can't serve Yahweh because he's a holy God. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 24. And the people said unto Yahshua, Yahweh our Elohim will we serve, and his voice will we obey. So Yahshua made a covenant with the people that day, and set them a statute and an ordinance in Shechem. And Yahshua wrote these words in the book of the law of Elohim, and took a great stone, and set it up there under an oak that was by the sanctuary of Yahweh. And Yahshua said unto all the people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us, for it hath heard all the words of Yahweh which he spoke unto us. It shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest you deny your Elohim. So Yahshua let the people depart, every man unto his inheritance. And it came to pass after these things, that Yahshua the son of Nun, the servant of Yahweh, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath Serah, which is in Mount Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gaash. And Yisrael served Yahweh all the days of Yahshua, and all the days of the elders that outlived Yahshua, and which had known all the works of Yahweh that he had done for Yisrael. And the bones of Yosef, which the children of Yisrael brought up out of Egypt, buried they in Shechem in a parcel of ground which Jacob brought of the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. And it became the inheritance of the children of Joseph. And Eleazar, the son of Aaron, died, and they buried him in an hill that pertained to Phinehas, his son, which was given him in Mount Ephraim.
Okay, my brother, I'm going to hold it right there. And what we're going to do is next week we're going to pick this up at Judges chapter 11. And we're going to go through and read about some of the judges in the land. And then we'll go out of Judges into Kings and Chronicles and deal with things that's necessary for us to deal with in those books. And you might want to bone up on those prophets because different prophets fitted in different times of those kings. And by reading the prophets, you'll get a good idea of what was going on during the time of those kings that the prophets prophesied to. But that's about all I'm going to do today. And may Yahweh add a blessing to each and every one of you. Do we have any announcement?